You might be asking why we're talking about 1995's Jumanji and why not Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle or Jumanji The Next Level. Well, that's simple. For one, Jumanji's where it all started, and for two, Robin Williams made Jumanji. But since most people voted that they liked Jumanji The Next Level the most, maybe I should start off by showing you Jumanji The Next Level first. No! Since Jumanji was rated PG, Robin Williams thought his kids were a little bit too young to see the movie, so they had to wait a little bit. Of course, our technology advances, and as it does, our older movies seem to be less scary than the newer movies. Either way, viewer discretion is advised. Well, I already saw Jumanji and I wasn't scared. You know what happens when you're not scared of Jumanji? It sucks you in the game. Poor Alan, he gets picked on by all the kids in Brantford, New Hampshire. I know what being picked on feels like.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
But if you look in the very beginning of the movie, they shed some light on why the kids may be actually bullying Alan Parrish. Get him! Traditionally, if a small town is built around one big factory, it's safe to say that the family who owns that big factory are powerful in that town. And of course, by being powerful in that town, they're gonna get special treatments towards their family. And Alan Parrish is the direct benefit of those treatments, good and bad. The first time Alan shows up in the movie, you can see his power structure in play. Alan breaks the law in front of a police officer, and not only does he not get in trouble, but the police officer even reinforces the power that Alan has.
All yours, Alan.
Thanks, Bill.
It's not by accident that the director lets us see the people patiently waiting their turn to walk across the street. And they make sure that you know what's going on here to show you that the crosswalk clearly said, "Don't walk." Alan also lives in arguably the nicest house in town, and his name is plastered all over the walls. Alan even spells it out for people who aren't following along when he's fighting with his dad.
Kids dropped my case here because I'm a parish. Just wait till I'm living in a building named after me.
Besides the fact that he's hanging out with Billy Jessup's girl, this is also why Billy wants to beat him up. Because probably if he were to do that going across the street in front of the cop, he probably would have gotten in trouble. Of course, that doesn't mean that it's okay to bully someone though. If you look at the board closely in this scene though, you'll see the pieces weren't stuck to the board that hard. We can see that the monkey found its way into someone else's path. Whoa! Billy Jessup was played by Gary Joseph Thorpe, and he's only been in one other production in his life. And that was Law and Order, and in that he played the victim of a bully.
Oh my God.
He roughed me up a couple of times.
How ironic. A lot of the movie was centered around the relationship that Alan had with his father, and his dad wanted him to be more manly and strong and willing to fight. Essentially, that's exactly what the character Van Pelt was from the game. And oddly enough, Van Pelt and Alan's dad, Sam Parrish, were both played by the same actor. Because in Jumanji, the game makes your darkest fears a reality. And Alan was scared of growing up and being a man. He was also scared of being alone and abandoned. Hence the game sucking him in. Alan also makes a mistake causing his friend Carl Bentley to essentially lose his job. That's not cool. Then Carl goes on to pursue a career in law, probably because he didn't know who did that to his shoes, and he wants to fight for injustice just like what was served to him. This would also make sense since he joined the force in 1974, shortly after getting let go from the shoe factory. In the gun store, the clerk asked Van Pelt if he was a postal worker.
You're not a postal worker, are you?
Because there's a term used for people who act in mass shootings as going postal, because the post office seemed to be a very common place where coworkers snapped. Kind of a dark joke. Survey time! If you saw a magic Jumanji game in your friend's closet, would you take it out and roll the dice? When Alan falls through the house, if you look closer you can see the safety cables holding Robin in place. Not one, but two. Not only is this for Robin's safety, but it's also to ease his mind since he had acrophobia, meaning fear of heights. If you're watching the stampede, there was one rhino that ran slower than the rest of the pack. And this was originally a mistake, but they left it in because it was funny. And they doubled down, adding some effects for the rhino wheezing. And they named the rhino Wheezy, of course.
Wheezy?
Home Alone 2 came out in 1992, and fresh on everyone's mind, I think the scene in the store was a reference to Home Alone 2. And the bad guy gets a shell full of paint dropped on him. That sounds familiar.
Uh-oh.
Who do you think won the dance-off? Vote now.
Alan has a fancy watch, probably given to him by his dad, and if you look when he comes out of the game 26 years later, he's still wearing that watch. The movie was based on the book Jumanji by Chris Van Allsburg, and Robin Williams also recorded an audio version of the book. Several of the scenes in the movie were calling directly to that book, like the line showing up on the piano directly from the book, or the monkeys in the kitchen directly from the book. Another movie that came out in 1995 along with Jumanji was The Indian in the Cupboard. There's possibly a little shout out in Alan's bedroom. On his nightstand you can see little toy soldiers. And if you look over here, you might think that Frank's Barbershop could be a shout out to Frank Oz, the director of The Indian in the Cupboard. You might also think I'm crazy. Well, look at the barber. That's Frank Oz. No, I'm just kidding, I don't know who that is. It could be a random name, or a shout out to Frank Oz, or Frank the sound effects editor, or Frank from Special Vocal Effects, or to be frank with you, it could just be a Frank. Okay, let's get real here. I dug deeper than that.
What are you doing?
Digging.
Why?
Well, you know why.
How deep are you going?
I don't know. How deep do you think it is?
Pretty deep.
It's actually the real life barbershop where they filmed the movie. In Keene, New Hampshire. Keene, New Hampshire. Keene. And you can get a haircut from there to this day. I think I need a haircut. Another thing they did in that town is if you look on the wall here, you can actually see the Paris Shoe Company to this day. Not to mention the cannon and the cannonballs in this scene, still there. Go ahead, take your Google car and drive around.
Wow.
Kristen Dunst plays the role of Judy Shepard and ironically almost gets bit by a spider. Seems like she spent her entire Hollywood career getting tangled up with spiders. Kristen and Bradley, who played brother and sister in Jumanji, also played brother and sister in the movie Siege at Ruby Ridge. Political.
I knew she still wouldn't live here.
And Madame Serena is a reference to the movie Teen Witch, where the main witch was Madame Serena. Well, the witch that helped the other witch become a witch. How witchful. Another thing that changed because Alan stopped existing is his parents died a premature death in 1991. Sorry, Alan. And it was probably from a broken heart. If it wasn't for Alan, his parents would still be alive.
And if it weren't for you, he'd still be alive.
To confirm this, watch at the end of the movie who Alan is talking to on the phone in the future, which is roughly 1995. By the way, that's the same year that the movie came out. Listen, Alan is talking to his dad.
Oh, Dad, no, it's a new cross-trainer. It's doing fabulous.
So clearly when Alan doesn't disappear, at least his dad lives longer, and probably his mother too. But when Alan references the next day, he doesn't say you guys, he just says you.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. We'll pick you up tomorrow at the airport, okay?
So maybe his mom actually did die. And after they finish the game and go on to live their life like normal people, Sarah is still very much into psychic readings and astrology. That's why at the Christmas party her dress has stars on it and she's wearing sun, moon, and star earrings. The crocodile in the house was 12 feet long and modeled after the crocodile in Peter Pan. There was also a diver hidden underneath the crocodile maneuvering it. And Robin Williams got so excited in one of the takes that he accidentally hit the diver.
I was wrestling this crocodile. I was like, oh, yes, yes, and I pounded it on the head, and all of a sudden from inside I heard, hey! There was this guy in there going, hey, it's me, man, it's Tim! Cut the overacting, man, it's hard in here. I just had a burrito, don't do that!
A lot of the movie was also made possible because of the amazing advancements in technology that were discovered in the making of Jurassic Park. We spare no expense. The monkeys in the movie don't look exactly like any specific type of monkey on Earth. The idea here was that they wanted the monkeys to seem off a little bit, so it was Jumanji's own unique species of monkey coming out of the game. Unique species of monkey. Remember that.
I've got it. Colonel Mustard in the library with a wrench.
This, of course, is a reference to the board game Clue, and 10 years earlier, just like in Jumanji, there was a movie based on the board game called Clue. Only this time, Jumanji, the board game, was based off the movie, which was based off a book. And the board game was also in this movie. And if you look at this TV from the electronic shop, that's the movie Wizard of Oz that the monkeys are watching. A lot of stuff was changed in this movie because of the game. The entire town was changed. But when the game is won and the world goes back to its normal self, it sucks all the stuff into the game, making it normal again. But some would argue that the gun and the bullet that Van Pelt fired was from the real world and not the game, so it shouldn't have dissolved and it should have hit Alan. And to that I say nay nay.
I say nay, it's easier for me.
They were living 26 years into the future. So we're living in an alternate universe that wasn't going to exist.
Holy smokes, Judy and Peter.
Alan, they're not there. It's 1969. They don't even exist yet.
So not only would the gun and the bullet disappear, but the entire gun shop would have disappeared and never existed. Did you guys hear that? That wasn't me. I'm scared. Once everyone is safe again, they grow up and live happily ever after. And at the Christmas party, we have a little hidden secret. Look, they're playing a piano and singing the song Hark the Herald Angels Sing. This goes back to the whole point of the story Jumanji. Yes, Alan gets sucked into the game, but ultimately what's happening here is he's getting to see what his future would have looked like if it wasn't for him, if he didn't exist. This is the same exact story plot that the movie It's a Wonderful Life had, where George Bailey got his wish to see what the world would have been like if he never was born.
I suppose it'd been better if I'd never been born at all.
So what does that have to do with this Christmas party? Well, just like in Jumanji, they both end with a Christmas party, and they're both playing the piano, and they're both singing Hark the Herald Angels Sing, and an angel gets its wings.
Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
That's right.
And just in case you're wondering what was inside the presents, it was custom Jumanji shoes. But did you know that the Jumanji game actually cheated?
I did, sir.
Subscribe if you want to get sucked into Jumanji and find out next week how Jumanji cheated. And until next time, remember, share a smile. They are contagious.